forward. So that's, I hope, it's a good example to see. This is a road that will make our town. You see the diagram before. That diagram shows us before when we making urban expansion or planning. And then we make urban expansion and we make a planning and we make that road like that one. My town before like this one, and now it's that one. Also, this shows us the urban expansion. This diagram shows before, you see, and this is now. So there is some major obstacles that comes from the when you make an expansion. Some of them here, and some of them not missing here. That is some missing. I tell you, some like when you're making an expansion or roads, there is politicians that want to make opposite to make this road. So that's one of the obstacles, and you see that which one is written here. So sometimes you see when you're making your expansion or you make a new road, the obstacles comes from your population. That population needs to be oriented, to know, to take some of information about another place. So I hope to, if you take this, it's important for us to make a conflict solutions easily. So after in the last 5 years, my town is making growth. So it's become clean and beautiful and developed with maximum agriculture, and also it's more to give delegate, and also stuff like health and also education. We manage our town easily. My town is also building air roads in 5 years that makes us a good place and good city. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Abdi. Another round of applause for Abdi. Great. I think now I will invite a senior planner from Mbale municipality in Uganda to share our experience.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to stand on this podium. My name is Eunice Muyama, Senior Fiscal Planner from Uganda, working with Mbale City. It's one of the secondary cities that was recently upgraded in 2020 in Uganda. And I would just like to share my experience on the implementation of the urban expansion plan in Uganda. Mbale has similar characteristics like Kenya, and I hope this will be a good learning experience for you. So I believe some of us have been to Mbale. Mbale is a beautiful city that is located just at the foot of Mount Elgon, that is in eastern Uganda, which is the western direction from Kenya. That is the location of Mbale and Kenya. And because of its strategic location, it has rapidly grown over the time. We have good public services that have encouraged people to keep coming to the town. We have rural communities that keep migrating, and also the strategic location because it's located along the Great North Road, running all the way from South Africa to Cairo, and that means it's an economic hub. That is the map showing Mbale, formerly before it was upgraded to city status, and after it was upgraded, the size of the town grew 7 times the former municipality. And that is just an aerial view to show how the expansion has been happening organically. And traditional urban planning interventions have been that through the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, the entire country is declared a planning area. However, this is more done in urban areas as compared to the rural areas. And each local government has the mandate to prepare their own plans, which we call the physical development plan or zoning plan, and then later we do the detailed layout. Now, this kind of planning is confined within a given administrative boundary. And in most cases, local government sought services of consultancies to prepare these plans. And this type of planning accelerates or complicates the issue of urban expansion. That is an example of the former municipality zoning of physical development plan for Mbale, and we can see that the plan is confined within the given administrative boundary. So because of the traditional way of planning, Mbale started experiencing a number of scattered satellite developments at the periphery of the town. And they took over the shape of the amoeba, just like we see it there. And that is just a diagram to demonstrate from a satellite image how the city urban expansion was growing. So, because of that, we needed to do something about the urban expansion beyond the physical development plans that were existing. So the urban expansion program was introduced to us by Cities Alliance, and selected officers that are responsible were trained so that we can be able to plan ahead of the expansion. And the way we did it is that we predicted how the expansion of the town is happening. As you can see the diagram there, from 1990 up to date, how the expansion has been happening. And so we brought all those areas into the planning area beyond the administrative boundary of the city. And realistically, we estimated how much land the urban expansion will require within a period of 30 years from now. So we brought the area, the planning area, and we started to plan it. That is what we have done, planning a grid network of roads to go ahead of the urban expansion. And then also what we did is to preserve the existing ecologically sensitive areas so that we protect them from destruction, because naturally such areas have a contribution that they do. Most of them act as carbon sinks, and also they act as flood sinks. So from that, we were able to draft the first urban expansion plan for Mbale City, and that is how it looked like. And finally, it was polished, and we came up with a final draft, which shows a grid network of arterial grids. They are spaced 1 kilometer apart, forming macro blocks, and also protecting all the ecologically sensitive areas. So, after the planning, the urban expansion plan, the product is that we have the grids, and then we get micro blocks. So it is within these macro blocks that we can now do the detailed planning of the zones and also the smaller community access roads. That is the Mbale City Sino Industrial Park, and that is how it is laid out. Protecting. How do we protect these roads that we have planned? So we have embarked on acquiring the proposed grid. We are starting to phase our implementation, and for us, we have decided to start from inwards as we spread outwards. Why? Because the already built up areas need immediate attention, and if we ignore them, the situation is going to become worse. So those are examples of some of the roads that we have expanded. For example, the first road was at 6 meters, and we have expanded the 1 kilometer of the road to 30 meters now. The second road also had a width of 7 meters, and as we speak now, it is at 20 meters, and then the next 15 meters. It is just 4.5 kilometers in total, but it is something. That is just a pictorial representation of what really happened. We engaged the community for over a whole year, and they understood, and they were convinced, and they were willing to extend their properties on their own. So on 1st October, that is what happened in Bale. People started removing their properties on their own without asking for any compensation. And then after, the technical officers came and took over, and the roads were able to be expanded. And then also we embarked on titling all the green spaces. So far from last year to now, we have titled about 4 of them. That is one of the green open spaces that we have in Bale. And also, we have enforced standards on all ecologically sensitive areas, the buffer zones or the rivers, where we are now planting bamboo, selected species of grass, and trees. So what is the difference between the urban expansion plan and the usual traditional plan? In Uganda, we call it the physical development plans. You can call it the zoning plan. I don't know how it is called here. But the urban expansion plan is simple and cost-friendly to prepare, because we did not have to get any consultants to do that plan. We did it ourselves from the training we got from Cities Alliance. And then it is also not limited to the administrative boundary. So it clearly addresses the challenge of sprawl at the periphery of the town. And then it is easy to acquire the land for specifically one subject. For example, if you did a zoning plan and you had several land uses and you have to look for funds to acquire all of them, it becomes very expensive than compared to when you only sample out one, which are the roads. And then the road reserves are preserved by simply encouraging the communities to grow trees that are really going to be beneficial to them. But how do the two plans fit together? The urban expansion plan is not there to destroy this traditional kind of planning. So it is only a skeleton of the usual plans that we do, and it is called a subject plan. So the milestones or some of the challenges that we faced, I can say that it was not a bed of roses. We have a land tenure system in Uganda that recognizes 4 land tenures, and predominantly it is customary and freehold land, where people have rights over their land, and if you need to acquire it, then they need to be compensated as per the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. And that is a very big hindrance because we do not have the funds to compensate these people. And then the financial constraint, because they will keep on telling you that it is not in the budget, so there are no funds allocated towards the urban expansion program, and then the land fragmentation. I think it is a similar issue here because I heard it being spoken here yesterday. So how did we overcome this? The power of community engagement. Like I told you, we spent over a year consulting community, trying to educate them about the importance of having wide roads. And I can really tell you that there is power in engagement. That is how the community came up and they were able to willingly give their properties. And then we also offer incentives, like, for example, those who are affected, the ones that removed their buildings in favor for expansion of the road, we waive off the building plan fees from them just because it would have been more expensive for us to acquire the land in case we were supposed to pay for it. And then also, we do free surveys for the people that were affected by the road expansion, because now we have to adjust, and for those whose lands were not surveyed, we are able, as a city council, to survey for them free of charge, and that encourages others to give out the land. And then also, land banking is very key. It is something out of experience that we are starting to take on, because you find that since we have challenges of land fragmentation, you will find a scenario where the entire plot of somebody has been eaten up by the road and they don't have anywhere else to go. So if you do banking for land, you can be able to give them a plot for them to start afresh. And then in my conclusion, I would like here for my colleagues to learn something, that since urban expansion is inevitable, we must plan for it. And it starts now, and it starts with you, it starts with us who are here. Capacity building for the technical team to plan is very, very important and very cheap compared to seeking the services of consultancies. And then land banking, budgeting, we have to incorporate the urban expansion plan in our budget and work plans so that we deliberately put resources aside for it, and then also creating public-private partnerships. So we need to commit the local governments in the urban expansion area. For example, if it is Home Bay County and the expansion is going beyond Home Bay, then we should put that other county on board. And then commitment of urban planning as a key driver for orderly development. Most cases, you find that urban planning is a profession that has been left out, especially in resource allocation. So the leaders should take a deliberate effort to put funds towards urban planning. And then I just want to say thank you. In my language, we say, Mwanyala nabi, asanteni.
Thank you very much, Planairis. Yes, I think that's a very interesting presentation. Another round of applause for the planner. Now we turn to our panelists, who are the Kenyan counterparts. As you know, this is a concept that has not been formally introduced in the country. So we just want to hear perspectives of the Kenyan participants. And they were carefully selected. We have a county minister who is at policy level, at county level. We have a county chief officer who is at operational level, leading the technical team at the county level. We have a board chairperson of a municipality who is at the policy level at that municipal level. And we have a municipal manager who is at operational level, leading the technical team at the municipal level. And finally, we have a partner who has been advocating land use planning and supporting land use planning. So we want to see whether this advocacy incorporates urban expansion principles. So to start with, we will start with the minister, Dr. Konyango, who is the CCM from Kisumu. You have had the presentation from Patrick, and you have heard the experiences of the two municipalities in Somalia and Uganda. And I think from the presentation, it's very clear that urban expansion is inevitable. How are counties prepared from a policy level in terms of dealing with urban expansion in Kenyan municipalities?
Okay, it is on. Thank you very much, Nick, and thank you very much for the presenters. That is excellent presentation, which I really have to commend, and I must say that I've learned quite a bit from the presentations, and I've also learned something that I will need to know what it means, Mwanya Lana Abi. I will require to know what that means. It means something which looks like excellent or, something like that. I will say a few things from policy perspective, but before that, allow me to make what I would call perhaps some value addition to this approach, the contextual approach of UXP. And I've seen that coming through the presentations. It will make more value from a policy and a practitioner's perspective if the approach was expanded so that we begin with anticipating the scenario. So we begin with anticipating. And once you anticipate, then you predict. Because that was coming out very clear when I listened to the presentation of Somalia and I listened to the presentation of Uganda, then I'm seeing there is that gap. You anticipate before you can predict. And then, in my view, after predicting, I would put in planning. I would plan instead of controlling. I would anticipate, predict, and then plan. Then I would control what I have planned. And then I would preserve what I have controlled. And then after that, I will protect what I'm controlling. Once I've done that, the next step will be to evaluate. Because you have done all those 5 steps and the plan is there. We would come to evaluating our plan, and then after evaluation, the circle goes back. We go back to, again, anticipate, because planning is continuous, it is not a static affair. So once we have protected, then now we evaluate that plan that we are protecting and the spaces we are protecting in terms of their effectiveness, in terms of provision of services like our open spaces and public spaces. We would want to see how are they, serving the public. Once we evaluate that, then we are able to go back again and we again anticipate what are the new phenomena. Like, Uganda talks about 5 to 30 years. At the end of the 30 years, what do? Do you leave it continue? No, you must evaluate how has your plan performed, how have your spaces performed, and then from that, the phenomenon continues. So in my view, I would want to look at it from that perspective, and it would add more value, to the UXP approach. Having said that, Nicodemus, you also allow me, there are a few things which I was just picking that I would want to mention from a policy perspective. Number one, in Kenya we have more than adequate policies. We have the land policy to the 2009, session paper number 3. We have the National Urban Development Policy. We also have the Land Use Policy, 2019. We have the Housing Policy. We have the Slum Upgrading Policy. We now have the Affordable Housing Policy. So we have a house load, of policies. These policies provide context, to the planning. And we have come to the realization that the issue of planning now takes place more within the peri-urban areas, where urban expansion takes place. The reason is our urban core areas, most of them have reached a threshold. We are now currently doing densification. We cannot, do horizontal expansion anymore. Now, because of that, there is a kind of a leapfrog development. So you will find a zone in the immediate ring of the urban areas that is, like a buffer zone. But immediately after that, then you have the area of urban expansion. This area where urban areas are expanding, unfortunately, it is expanding through urban sprawl. It is uncontrolled. It is unplanned. So this, if there is any area where planning needs to take place from both a practitioner and also a policy perspective, the area to apply the UXP concept is in these peri-urban areas. The peri-urban areas are transitional zones because immediately after the peri-urban areas, then you have the rural. So if there is control and there is protection that needs to be done, the area where we need to make a theater is in these peripheral areas. And that is why this concept then becomes immediate. The other thing is, you find that our urban areas are leapfrogging in terms of development. So you move from the urban core, but I'm sure as the chair, for the caucus chair of the municipalities will tell you, we have the small urban nodes that are beginning to spiral within the extended areas, which are intervening between the rural areas and the major cities. Now, with that, you find that we are beginning to have urbanization take place at that level. In Kenya, from a policy perspective, we have categorized our urban areas from an area of 2,000, a concentrated population of 2,000, that is urban and requires planning. Then we go to 10,000, we go to 20, we go to 50,000, which then becomes a municipality. Now, because the demographic nature of our population is such that the youth are forming the majority of people that are moving to towns. They have their own lifestyles, which is new, to the urban areas. Now, these people are moving in the urban areas before they develop their skills and have the resources to be able, to match the needs and the livelihood needs and the cost of living within the urban areas. So you find that within this concept, we would require to begin creating and planning the urban node at that lower level of population concentration of 2,000. Then we move to the 10,000 before we hit the 40,000, the 50,000. Our concentration now, unfortunately, I did not look at the population that my two colleagues were talking about, but you find that in most cases, perhaps they are talking about a population of 30, 40,000. Now, that population of 30, 40,000, there are already a lot of problems and evils in that area. But if you went to a lower level of 5,000 and you begin applying this concept there, you would find that you will be planning, forward planning. But the problem we have now is that we are actually planning after the fact. That is what is happening. And in Kenya, that is a basic problem that we are having, despite the fact that we have a household full of policies. At that lower level, at the county level, what we are seeing and which we begin to do is that we need to concentrate all the policies into one omnibus. Because at the national level, you have a lot of small policies. When you come down to the urban level, the municipal level, then your mind is bogged down by those policies. You don't know, different departments are now applying different policies at that urban level. But if we have a concentration, an omnibus, where one person, either the municipal manager or the municipal chair at that level is able to control and able to direct the planning and the development using one omnibus policy, that would make a very big difference. And finally, may I say that the main driver for the peri-urban development should, one, be quality of livelihoods. That is the basic thing that in these plans that I've seen here, we would approach. Quality of livelihoods, infrastructure, and climate-proof infrastructure, because that is where we have a lot of infrastructural problems. The economy of those areas. so that our approach will be innovative, and not just innovative, but the type of plan that we come up with is not a structure plan and not a master plan. A master plan can never work, in the peri-urban zones. What I saw from the Ugandan perspective and also from the Somalia perspective, it was more stronger in the Somali perspective. It is a negotiated plan. That is the approach that we need to adopt. Then that one will be implementable because it is inclusive, it is owned, and even implementation now is people-driven. I think I would want to stop it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Konyango. A round of applause for Daktari. I think he has captured three main things. Value addition to the approach, a few additions from anticipation all the way to evaluation. I think that would be a good takeaway. You're very clear that we have adequate policies, but we need some consolidation of these policies in the country. And in all what we do, the quality of livelihood should be the benchmark and what we are focusing on. Thank you very much. Now we go to, so that we finish the policy discussion, Mr. Wanyonyi, the chairman of Kimilili Municipality, but also you play a critical role as the chair of chairs of all the over 120 municipalities in the country. You have heard what Dr. Konyango has said, and you have heard the presentation from Patrick and our two colleagues. You lead one of the municipalities in this country that are experiencing urban expansion. From a board chair perspective, what would you say needs to be done so that we control this urban expansion?
Thank you very much, Nick. I have my colleagues, chairs of municipalities, in the audience. By show of hands, Professor Gordon Fondiwa. Yes, there are quite a number. Actually, we expected about 32 of them who were participating, but just a few have come. Permit me to mention this. The presentation from Somaliland, and presentation from my sister in Bali, the presentation of Patrick, is so compelling for our Kenyan experience. Like Dr. Konyango has said, we have too many policies that are not coherent, that are a source of confusion. Our interaction with Dr. Joe Akech and Patrick and Heba, the first time we met the African Urban Lab team in your office, Nick, we realized we have a problem in this country. Where there are footprints of African Urban Lab, there is order. You realize in Somaliland, they have a very organized case. You realize where Eunice comes from, which is just across from our county, there's something very useful. This is what I think ought to be done. We need the municipality leaderships to appreciate smart management in terms of capacity building, which is a deliberate thing that we have to do. Because Dr. Ogola is here, in the next 20 years, there's a possibility for Homa Bay town having joined itself to Rongo. The idea of rural urban migration, as it obtains now, is going to be reversed in a few years. It will be urban rural migration in terms of intensification. And so, peri-urban planning is urgent, because I think what we have in this country is massive confusion. So it's my considered view, and I believe it's representative, that we need to start doing our things right. So in terms of appreciating the aspect of smart management on how municipalities should run. Like Dr. Konyango has said, we must be careful about quality of life. We must be careful about the road network system and all those settlement patterns. But there's number two aspect, I think, which essentially is number one. It is a deliberate thing. We must plan our things. As we're talking now, every municipality has an integrated development plan because we tap into the CIDPs of our county governments. How far are we implementing it? If we do not, then the possibility of respecting the spatial plans in our municipalities will be overlooked, and I think it becomes a problem. And number three, Daktari, at the policy level for you people, a deliberate thing has to be done for this country in our municipalities, that resources must actually reach the municipalities. We interacted with the father of devolution, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, this afternoon. This hall was packed. He mentioned the national government. He mentioned the county governments, but he did not mention the municipalities. And for as long as this continues being the case, then we will have challenges in terms of actualizing the devolution agenda, the devolution experience in this country. And I think it's so urgent, this might be my last bit, that our having interacted with you, Dr. Patrick, and Eunice, and our brother from Somaliland, partnerships and collaboration may be urgent. It will be good for us to see, for example, Wajir municipality, where our treasurer comes from, crossing over to Somaliland, to see what is happening, to replicate it. It should be a lot easier for Bungoma to cross over to Mbale to see what is happening. And allowing all our municipalities to interact in some kind of exchange program. So to answer your question, Nick, there is so much that we have to do. And I think I request the African Urban Lab. I know Dr. Joe Akech has visited about 15 counties, and I think it should be reduced to agreements on how our municipalities from those counties can tap into this experience, because I think it's about planning, it's about doing things right.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for the chair, for the honorable chair, actually. Yeah, I think he raises interesting comments there. The issue of conflicting policies and legislations comes out clearly. The need for capacity building our urban entities and strengthening the entities that should be the planning authorities at that urban area level in Kenya. And perhaps for those who have not interacted with the Kenyan system of governance, I think there's always a confusion between whether counties are municipalities and what is the place of Kenyan municipalities within the globe. So Wanyonyi, I think that is well captured, and we'll see what we put in our recommendations at this conference. So from there I go to Charles Obondo, who is also a planner. And maybe I want you to speak about this from the context of Homa Bay County. I know in Homa Bay County you have, I think, 5 municipalities. And apart from the Homa Bay municipality and Bita, a couple of the other municipalities are largely rural, and they are affected by what was presented by Planner Eunice. From an operational and technical capacity perspective, do you think counties are prepared to, or do you think they have this capacity to be able to undertake this planning? And one thing that came strongly is the power of community engagement, so that you can do the negotiations with the property owners to be able to give room for the road spaces and, to facilitate the urban expansion. From your experience, what do you think? Is this possible in the country, and what do we need to do? Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Nick. First, I want to acknowledge that urbanization is really rapid worldwide and even in Africa. That is in the south. And so the biggest question is that, is it sustainable? And I want to give practical experience from Homa Bay, a perspective at the county level, is that we have tried it. We currently did what we call the People's Adaptation Plan for Homa Bay Municipality, and it is a success. It is participatory, it was people's-led, and I think it has captured people's needs and nature-based solutions that tries to address issues that affect the residents of Homa Bay Municipality. Now to direct to your question is that counties and mostly the urban institutions, the municipalities and the cities, there are many municipalities apparently in Kenya that are gazetted and charters were granted by the governors. But the question again is that do we have capacities? Do we have technical capacity within these municipalities? Staffing is a challenge, and so municipality requires technical staffs to be able to prepare and implement these plans. And now we are talking about urban expansion plans. We need to look at the capacities within our municipalities if we are indeed able to undertake these plans at that level. For the case of Homa Bay, yes, we have a capacity to be able to do our plans internally. And an example that I used of People's Adaptation Plan, we have done it internally with the support of Akiba Mashinani and Global Center on Adaptation as partners. And so it means we have internal capacity to prepare and implement urban expansion plans at the county. Another challenge that would also affect from the technical perspective is inadequate budgeting. Most of our urban institutions and municipalities are really experiencing budgetary issues. Do we have a capacity to budget for urban expansion, or not only planning but implementation of these plans? That is another question that many municipalities are grappling with. Another concern is political goodwill, the leadership. All these plans from the legislation perspective is that they must go through the county assembly for approval. Do we have that political goodwill? First, to finance and be able to facilitate approval of these plans and their implementation. It has been mentioned here by my colleague planner and Dr. Konyango about the conflicting legislations. That's another challenge. Our urban institutions are anchored on Urban Areas and Cities Act. But there are still conflicting legislation. An example is Urban Areas and Cities Act vis-a-vis Physical and Land Use Planning Act. We acknowledge that we have urban institutions headed by the board, municipal boards, and managers as the secretaries with technical staffs to be able to undertake planning. But an example, who is the planning authority? Have we really devolved planning up to the municipality level, or do we still have it at the county level? I think if municipalities are able to prepare, then they should be able to implement. You can only prepare and implement if you are a planning authority. So some of these laws are also conflicting and that requires harmonization. Finally, is about the tenure issues. There is a lot of issues that affect planning relating to freehold tenure. We do good plans, even at the municipality levels. But our the land tenure system in this country is an impediment to implementation of these plans. Because of the absolute ownership as provided for by the freehold tenure system, it is very difficult to enforce planning, especially for the parcels, land parcels that are privately owned. So that is another challenge that the technical teams are really experiencing in terms of implementation of plan. But I want to appreciate what is happening in Uganda and even in Somali. Having listened to the two presentations, we are more or less the same in terms of planning. Probably the difference is the land tenure system and also their legislations. But all in all, we are all able to implement urban expansion plans by considering its sustainability. Thank you.
Interesting. Let's appreciate Planner Charles Obondo. He has introduced new perspectives, the question of the land tenure. To be interesting to hear from Somaliland and Uganda how they are dealing with those issues. And another interesting one is the political goodwill. We'd also love to hear from Uganda and Somalia how you are dealing with that issue of political goodwill. We now proceed to a manager of a municipality. And as I said, you are carefully selected because your municipality has got several nodes, several urban areas, and a very expansive rural area. And you have listened to the presentations from all and the speakers. We just want to get an experience from you in terms of, are you experiencing urban expansion in your municipality? And what have you learned from the discussions here that municipalities should do to prevent or to control this urban expansion? Over to you, Philip.
Thank you, Nick, and I want to appreciate the presentations from the team. I've heard what Somaliland has been able to do. Probably I want to speak from the perspective of municipal manager, the head of a secretariat, the team that does implements decisions of the board. From where we sit, I think most of the challenges that have come across here have put us in a very awkward situation. One, the issue of all those laws that speak different language to the same matter is an issue that is affecting our delivery, and that cuts across these municipalities. We are privileged to have had the development control function fully delegated to us, but we had a huge task of sitting down to harmonize WACA and PLUPA, okay? So that we are able to see what we are able to do at our level and what the CEC in charge of urban planning does, so that the process is seamless and conclusive and without violating the law. Of course, now, when you talk about the policies and other statutory documents that have to be developed, talk about the CIDP that is done by the county and the MIDP that we do at the municipality level. You find that these documents, most of the time, they are not speaking to each other. The other challenge is the collaboration between the levels of government. The national government, which has the enforcement unit, then there are county enforcement units and municipal enforcement units. When it comes to development control, for example, you find that there is no much collaboration. And there is a limitation to the extent that the municipality or the county government can do, and there is that which the national government enforcement team is able to do. So I think there is need for an harmonization of implementation and enforcement of most of these laws. The other thing is the matter of financing, which has come out clearly from, I think, the chair of chairs. Municipalities are largely handicapped financially, most of them. In fact, when we discuss, you find that even municipalities that have existed for long, they are only municipalities on paper. So I don't know. There is need to oversight the implementation, and in this context, I'm talking about the creation, the transfer of functions, and transfer of resources to these municipalities. Because that is what is very key to capacity building, ensuring that the municipalities have the adequate resources and personnel and tools to be able to, in fact, carry out the mandate that is delegated to them. I think I would close there for now, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manager. A round of applause for the Manager. And finally, from the panelists, but before I go to the last panelist, I think two critical issues have come out there. Disconnect between planning documents. I think that's a matter that we need to pick up, but also lack of communication and coordination between the different authorities, national, county, municipal. I think that's an important one that we also need to pick. I will not re-emphasize financing and full transfer of functions, because even in the previous session, you have just heard the former Prime Minister speaking about transfer of functions and people doing functions that are assigned to the other level of government or authority. So we go to our last panelist, Usna from FAO. And throughout the conversations, I think the question of partnerships and coordination has come out strongly, that we need to embrace partnerships so that we can advance this agenda. And I know you are running a program that promotes matters planning, but also you play a critical role in coordinating, agencies, national government, county governments, independent commissions in this country. So perhaps what are your perspectives on how do we deliver on matters urban expansion based on your experiences?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nick, for this, and also I appreciate all the speakers, especially the two countries who presented on what they are doing. And I also like what you've just said in terms of what is coming out clearly in regards to coordination and coordination. My name is Husna Ashad. I work for FAO, and actually it's a specialized UN agency working on matters of food and nutrition security, and one of its mandates is looking into land tenure security by its wholesome approach, and also being a main factor of production around crops and animal, or within the agriculture sector. It's always intriguing to discuss planning. And looking at what is happening in the world, is true. The future looks, everybody will be in a city or a town, and everybody has alluded to that. I've heard for a while now, the future is urban, but there are quite so much concerns, and I think they have been raised here. And even more concerns will be now, are we able to feed our people? Especially now we are urbanizing everywhere. And especially we are losing our rural areas, which are more also the agriculture grounds or the production grounds to urbanization. And this is quite a big concern to us and most of our member states. I wanted really to say that because even the discussion, the earlier presentation, I look at the recommendation in terms of the team to be involved. I think we are all looking at planning, but I think we really need to look at it in a bigger and wider way, so as we agree first and recognize that is a matter of the chicken and egg, which comes first. And Dr. Konyango has also mentioned that we are doing did you say post-factum? Eh? We are planning when, already most of the developments are on. And again, of course, we console ourselves and say it's not too late. Our experience majorly is on how do we rescue the situation and how do we even promote more plans. Nick has mentioned that we work with the national, the county, and all other partners and professional bodies to ensure everybody is on the table when counties or planning is being held. And we feel that is one of the biggest lessons, because when you look at the teams doing the planning, all of us will be planners on that table, but we lose out on the economist, the environmentalist, the food science, and all those profession which needs to be on the table when we are doing this. So for me, that is one thing needs to be like a good lesson learned, to ensure that there is coordination with all players, including the communities themselves. In most occasions, we've seen that when planning actually is being done or conducted, or those sessions are being followed within areas where communities are or where the citizens are, there's a lot of animosity, or there's a lot of negative feedback by the people who live in those areas. And I think that is one thing which we already learn. It's like people don't really understand why we need to plan. So that is one of the most important lessons which we really need to. And I think the experience in Kenya is actually leading on the spatial plans, and I know also through our program we've been able to support some of the municipalities and town planning processes alongside the government, national and county, and also the Kenya Institute of Planners and the Survey of Kenya too. But most also importantly, what we need to, as we say, that we need that coordination, we need to bring and consult with everybody. We've already heard that there's so much policies in this country. And then how do we link those policies? How do we integrate, and how do we ensure that other policies and laws are not really, contradicting with the planning laws of a country? And I think that is very, very important. And the other bit which we are learning from the processes we hear here is on aspects of financing, and already you talk of mandates and who is doing what, but also most importantly budgeting and ensuring this happens. This is a very crucial element. We all know that most of these processes are very expensive. We have incidents of where over 100 million is used in spatial plan. And this is where the rethinking and the rethinking and the way we do things needs to look into. One of the approach through our processes together with the Council of Governors is looking at a hybrid way of working out. But I had one of the speakers saying that we did it ourselves, actually from Uganda. We did it ourselves. That already tells you recognize the expertise you have in an institution, and then allow for the other consultations to take place. And I think that becomes a process where you cut down costs, but also you cut down time in terms of doing the processes. And most importantly, you own the processes. And I think for me, that's also a very big lessons learned. Kenya also has some few example of much of the plans being done by, locally by the expertise national or county government has. And I think it's also a very good lesson learned. One thing is, I know there are very other principles we need to follow, and for FAO, we are advocating for the voluntary guidelines principle on governance on tenure, and it applies very big on planning and land use management. But also, always as we plan, I'll give one incident where we were reviewing some of the technical curriculums in the universities around surveying, around planning, around environmental management, even the law curriculum. And there's one bit which always misses. Of course, we look at socially, economically, environmentally, and most importantly, politically. But if you look at those curriculum, you miss the social aspects. And social aspects in the context, but also social aspects on how we are doing things. This is one of the findings we've really do. And that is why you'll find either planners or surveyors, when they're on the ground, they're being chased away by even the communities or the people who you're planning for. And I think this is also a critical look in terms of the people we get, the expertise we get from the university, the graduates. Probably that is an additional thing. And for the players in the sector, especially the planners, this is one feedback you really need to give back to our teaching and our training facilities. Also, through FAO, we've been able to really put big the aspects of capacity development, the trainings on various aspects, on land management and land use planning, and also the use of technology to be able to better the planning aspects. And I'm proudly saying this, and Nick is here, he can bear witness, that one of the calls of the law for this country, Kenya, is to use GIS in planning. And we've seen counties actually moving towards that direction. And when I say we are proudly associated, because we've been able also in partnership with the Council of Governors to be able to put GIS laboratories and training within these counties. So probably that's also another good start to be able to enhance capacities in both hardware and softwares in the counties, to be able to look at all these challenges facing our management and governance of land, and be able to enhance planning and put it really at the topmost priority for the counties. And most importantly is to be able to lure, probably that's not a good word to use, but to lobby and advocate for the leadership, the decision maker, to be able to ensure that the aspects of policies there, but the financial bit and the budgeting of these processes become a priority, including our members of assembly, our legislature. We've had one, and I'll not mention the area, but where we want the assembly to be able to pass a plan, a county assembly, and they tell you, how does it benefit my people? What they want to see is tangible aspects of boreholes, development aspects where you can see, you can feel for their constituents to see. And also, of course, we talk about this in a political way. But what we need to is further lobby, ensure that also our legislature, when we are doing this, they are onboarded on the first instant of the start of those work, especially even be included in the planning team or the planning unit, so as they can be able to appreciate why it is important going forward to do this. And I'm sure when it comes to the endorsement and the passing and enactment by the assembly, it becomes so easy, because you have a champion, you have an advocate who can be able even to say, we have done this and this is where we are at. And the most important to add in the legislature is to ensure that even the people are reached, because that is the connection between the executive and the citizenry. And you know that those are influential leaders who can, even when you're consulting or doing public participation, can be even can be reached out. So I think I will stop here, and there's quite a lot to be shared. Probably these are some of the areas we can bilaterally discuss, and even call on more partners to be able to join us. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for Husna. Great. I think now, before we get reactions from the presenters, we can go to the plenary and get reactions, feedback from the participants. So the floor is open for those who want to comment or ask some questions. The mics are down there. Let's start from, yes. Then you tell us, if it's a question, you can tell us who you are directing the question to. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like to direct my question, I think, to the policy makers. And in this case, I think the manager and the CC on the following areas. One is that you have had the concern of Husna on about feeding the people who are coming into the city, and that the land that we're expanding to is actually ideally supposed to be the agricultural land. How does that augment with this expansion theme that has been placed in, or that has been proposed? How does that fit into the plan? I heard one of the last processes that was said by Daktari CEC was control. Does that control include farming lands to be able to feed? The second question is, in Kenya, as we talk, my chair, Able Chair Honorable Wanyonyi, has said that the discussions have been on national government and county government. But this last bit of devolution called urban and cities have never been captured. Interestingly, Bananik, even the reports, I read the report, I have it from the COG on the year 2023 from Eldoret. I was unable to pick in that report anywhere on cities and municipalities. What does that mean to the future of cities and municipalities in Kenya? Lastly, Husna, I will personally look for your number after this so that we can discuss something about Ndewa as an agricultural city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one, yes, and then we come to Lodvik. Let's start with him, yeah.
Thank you. My name is Felix Giaboma from Homa Bay County. Mine goes to the chair of municipalities. You know, by definition, urbanization refers to growth and development of towns. And for a town to be considered a municipality, there must be some factors that were put in place in order for it to be confirmed to be a municipal. So, my question goes to the chairman of municipalities, especially in Homa Bay County. Can the chairman of the municipal council come up with an idea that there are certain structures that are not required in such a place? Because, for example, when you are in the CBD, we don't expect a mabati structure there. So there's need to put up a policy whereby certain structures are needed in that area. And this will also help to avoid the issue of slums in towns. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one.
Yeah, my name's Lolvi Kotieno from Kisumu County, from Maseno Olu Municipality, and the chair. As what our able chair, Mr. Wanyonyi, has talked about the issue of municipalities, this conference, as we came, sorry to say this before I ask my question, is just about the welfare of the Council of Governors talk about their welfare, how it can be. We have come about the issue of the Senate welfare. We come about the issue of how the county assemblies also can be remunerated and also how the functions can be transferred. The problem we have with the municipalities, we have to be very honest about, is that there's something called the executive at the level of the county, and I'm very happy that our new executive, Dr. Konyango, has really been trying to help, and thank you very much, Dr. Konyango. The problem we have is that the sections of the county government area there, they don't want to let go of the municipalities. The Urban and Area Cities Act are very clear about provisions of some of the amendment acts, which should actually transfer functions. The problem we have is that how do we oversight the transfer of these functions? Because the transfer of functions, as one of us was saying here, is just on paper. Once it is done, you find that there are some municipalities which have got accountants who are earning salary, but no single cent has ever gone to the accounts of those municipalities. So municipalities are just there in paper. So the best thing that we can do is, how can we oversight this transfer of functions? Because they are gazetted, they are legal, and this is the reasons why we have so many court cases, because some people realize that there's an area where there's a gray area, so people go to court. These things come because the people read about these provisions, about the act, because there are so many gaps. The problem of the municipal managers are supposed to report to the board, technically to the chief officer. You find that the municipal manager is actually captured, he does not know what to do. You find him inside, he's supposed to report to the board, at the same time, he's supposed to report to the chief officer. This a person is under capture and ignores the municipal functions or ignores the chief officer's functions and come this way. So there has to be somewhere whereby we need to give a guideline how we can have a central point. Dr. Konyango talked about the area of so many, the omnibus, concentration of so many policies that are coming. So these policies are causing confusion. Why can't we go to what Dr. Konyango said? Let's lump up this and put this to the board. So the board runs the municipalities. Instead of having so many policies somewhere, the board may not even know what's going on. They just hear things going here and there. So I think this is a disconnect that we need to bridge this gap. And this issue of the executive holding so much, and that's why so many municipalities are yet to be functional, because they have so many staff who are doing nothing, because up there they don't want to let go. The municipalities came late when some of these functions were already somewhere, but they cannot be transferred. I think this is an area that we need to look into. Otherwise, we're just going on in circles.
Thank you.
I think it's very important.
Thank you very much. I think we picked the last, okay, that one and then the last one here. Then we come back to the panel.
Thank you. I think my name is Philip Nzei. I'm the acting director for special programs, disaster management and emergency services in the Makueni County government. I think my concern goes on generally on a policy perspective, and I'm almost echoing what the chairman for Maseno municipalities talked about. You find that when these municipalities were created, definitely they are part of devolution. We are still, from the county level, we have the sub-counties, but then we have the municipalities. So we have those overlapping functions. Like, to be specific, my manager is seated from there, the extreme right, and I know the challenges he has. Like when he's an administrator, but within his municipality, he has other administrators within the same municipality. If you look at his mandate, he has a mandate on disaster management and basically fire management. Overall, the county also has a mandate on the same. So we're having all those policies and overlapping mandates and responsibilities that need to be streamlined. so that maybe when we are giving the mandate for the municipalities, we can see where it fits best, whether they can easily adopt whether they can be supported from the county level, like for, I'm specific of like fire services in fire management. Can they be supported from the headquarters, or they have to form their own fire units within the municipalities and all that? Basically, we have that minefield of allowing policies and a lot of regulations which the municipalities are coming to a field with existing policies, and then they have to make theirs, something like that. I think that clarity must be brought from a policy perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then the last, because let's have the Waziri here. And then let's try as much as possible to react to the presentation. All the issues you're raising are important, but let's come back to the presentation that was made.
Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Ogola Peter, the CCM in charge of lands, physical planning, housing, and urban development, Homa Bay County. This one goes directly to my sister from Bale. She talked about urban areas, the planning, moving to the pre-urban, where the communities are. I wanted her to clarify maybe possibly how they have dealt with the issue of culture, because we Africans, especially burial within the municipal areas, when it moves to the peri-urban, you will find that most of the people we are going to meet there are actually indigenous people who feel that even if their son dies in America, must be brought and be buried next to his home or his house. What strategies have you put in place to help you overcome such scenario? Because when we are expanding urban areas, we are expanding them into the community. And these communities are not those who are migrated to the urban who are more enlightened. These are communities who are just there. Some of them are not very much literate. How do you deal with such? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think because of time, we'll come back to the panelists. We start with Patrick, but you take maximum 1.5 minutes so that so for everybody, I'll give the mic 1 minute, maximum 1.5 minutes. So we start with Patrick, then we come back to Abdi and Eunice, then the others in that order.
Thank you. So I would just like to say that is it on? It's on. In the 13 years that I've been doing urban expansion planning, I've sat in a lot of rooms with people who have told me all the complexities of their legal systems, the complexities of their land tenure and management systems, the complexities of the political relationships they have with the center. You know, I would just say, when we think about whether or not Kenya can do this type of planning, we should keep in mind that Kenya is not uniquely complex. The difference between the places that can do this and the places that can't is not the complexity of their systems. It's whether they're looking for problems or looking for solutions. I know that about 1/3 of the cities or counties or municipalities that we support are able to do this on the ground within 5 years. That means that 2/3 can't. And what it comes down to isn't the system that they're in, it's the leadership that they have. And whether that leadership is thinking, oh, you know, we have to wait until we resolve these problems before we can start, we have to add these other layers before we can consider it, or whether they're interested in getting something done now. Which comes to my second point. We're not choosing to expand urban areas. We're not choosing to convert land to urban use. There's a reality, which is that urban areas are growing. And they're growing because of decisions that are being made by individuals who are taking their land and converting it to urban use. And the reason why they're doing that is because they think that it will be a good thing in their lives. And we don't have the capacity to control that growth. The only choice we have is whether that growth is orderly or disorderly. It's not Does it happen or does it not happen? Is it an orderly process or a disorderly process? That's where there's room for the government to get involved. And then the final point is on the question of the loss of agricultural land, which is another very dominant concern that comes up when people are hearing about urban growth. The only thing that I would say is, globally, only 3% of arable land is occupied by cities. So the cities can grow quite a lot and be no threat to agricultural productivity. Now, that's globally. Locally, there may be changes and disruptions, but there has never been a case of a city that experienced food shortages because of urban growth. And the reason is simple. Urban growth happens when you're experiencing prosperity. And when you're experiencing prosperity, it means that you bring food from further away. So you simply rely on a further hinterland. That's what happens in practice. So I thank you for hearing me on these things.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Then, Abdi? It's okay, just proceed.
Thank you very much for everyone. Welcome back to good evening. Also, my name is Abgadir. I am Executive Director in Municipality of Kibili. I try to answer only one question that comes from the population. So our expansion is not considering the urban ruler, but sometimes you need to expand it in town. As you said before, as you showed my presentation, you see a road that comes from the central town. Before, there was some people that are arrested, and they have many houses. And then we decided how to plan in this town. It becomes suitable position, and it becomes suitable, beautiful town. And then we decided how to remove these houses. We remove, and then we give the people to money and to build into another houses, like same. Well, I remember 3 houses we destroyed in that street. Now the streets will become flat, and it's so making lighting. Also, we're making some street. That's why the town be expanded easily. Another system we make it. Plan is not in this one in town area, but the next future it become faster. So we need to. The roads can buy the other people's to another people to building houses. That's why to make a plan, master plan. Also, you said before we use a GIS map, and that's tell us the person who was sitting or who was buying something in the road is red, green. I will tell him that's a road. So that's why we're making urban expansion, and now the town become easily going far. There's no damage it. The other people who was animal, who was something like that one, the person who want to be a plan in his area, you planning, not forcing the people who did not wanting to plan in his area. So the person who would come to the municipality and tell us what you want, and then we plan in that section, and then we take off some of the property of land. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Because of time, I will just go straight to the technical questions. And I will start specifically with the ones of the planner. The situation of Kenya is not very different from the one of Uganda. Believe me, the challenges that you've spoken about are the same challenges that we face. Like the issue of the technical capacity to plan. Yes, you have it. I can tell you that this plan is prepared by just a core team of about 8 members. It does not have to be a whole consultancy firm to do this. Just to be specific, you have the physical planners, You have an engineer, the surveyor, the land manager, environment officer, the CDOs, and then maybe the GIS expert. And you could even find that you don't have to get a special person. Amongst the core team that I have mentioned, there are people who are good in technology, like doing GIS, and just that is just enough. Plus the political will of the town, and you're able to do this plan. When we take a step to do this, you realize that you're capable of doing it. Now, because the plan is not limited within an administrative boundary, for example, maybe if one municipality does not have an environment officer, you can still sort out from the next administrative unit and you work together. The political will. We usually complain of the political interference, but it is because in most cases we isolate them from what we do. We do not want the politicians to know what the technical staff are doing. The issue is to educate them and then bring them on board to be part of the planning team. I am telling you, without political will, you will not be able to penetrate the communities. We did this during a critical time when the politicians are looking for votes. Next year in January, we are having elections in Uganda. But these politicians were brave enough to go to the communities and were able to even break people's homes because they understood the value of expanding the road. So the issue is that we should bring politicians and the technocrats to work together for things to be a reality. The tenure system, completely the same. In Uganda, we have 4 tenure systems, which include customary, freehold, among others. And the Constitution of Uganda says that land belongs to the people. It does not belong to the government, so it is not public land. And for you to acquire the land, you must compensate these people. And the local governments do not have money to do that. And that's why you find that most of these plans are beautifully drawn and left in the shelves or on the walls of the offices just to beautify the office. But the issue is that, like you said, we have so many contradicting laws, but you don't have to apply all of them. You can try to pick out the ones that really matter. For example, the land belongs to you, yes, but it must be utilized in the laws that govern the country. Like us, the Physical Planning Act declares the entire country a planning area. So you must tell this person that it is your land, but you're not allowed to do anything on the land. In order for you to do anything, you come and seek for permission, for guidance from the people that are responsible with the planning. And that is how the people come on board, and then you educate them, and you're able to make things possible. And then I would like to also mention something to do with the funding challenge. It is still the same. Maybe physical planning or something is one of the highest contributor of taxes in the country. But how much comes back to the department? Almost nothing. But should we just sit and let things go the way they go because we do not have money coming to us? That is when things like co-funding come in. You know, it is expensive to acquire the land, but who is the end user of that road that you're going to do? It is the community. So if I am bringing for you a better road, I'm bringing tarmac, I'm bringing, a good drainage system, I'm bringing safety to have a good road which has humps, then you must also contribute something, 3 or 4 meters of your land so that all those services can be. So they are co-funding the project together with you. And then also you grab the opportunity of the available projects. For example, in Uganda, we have had the World Bank that has come to do what? To support, maybe with conditional or unconditional grants, and they were supporting with money to construct roads in municipalities. Now, we go to the community and we tell them, this money is loan money. It is not free money. And when it is being paid, you are all taxpayers and you're contributing to pay that loan. So what you have to do is that you must have value for your tax. You are paying the loan, but you're not getting anything. Now, we are saying if you expand this road to the required standard, it can be included on the projects for upgrading of the road, so that when you pay the tax, you know where your money is going. And it is all about engagement, engagement, engagement. And then Madam from FAO, about the food security. Oh yes, the plan is very, very sustainable and it looks at all that. For example, we are aware that when we plan and secure these corridors, we do not have the funds to implement and open these roads immediately. So what can we do? We are using these corridors as for urban agriculture. We can demarcate them by encouraging people not to plant trees, but to grow trees, growing trees with value. For example, you can tell the community to grow fruit trees, like the mangoes, the guavas, along these trees, and that will benefit them. The children will be able to eat these fruits, and it will benefit them in terms of nutrition and other things. They can also use the corridors that are not yet opened to grow crops, to grow the beans and the maize. These are seasonal crops until when the council is able to acquire funds to open these roads. And then also, I would like to say the culture versus the urban expansion is not here to urbanize places. It only creates that, a linkage, for example, between the urban and the rural. And this will actually benefit the rural who are doing farming. It is easier for them to transport their crops to where the markets are. Those are the urban areas when we create these grids. And also, it is okay for them, even when the urban expansion has gone beyond the urban area, it is okay for them to continue farming. And it is even very easy because you'll have these good blocks where you can even specialize and say, in this block, we are growing this, we are growing that. So it does not replace, and people can continue with their cultural norms and doing their barriers. And if it is in an urban setting, obviously after the urban expansion that only concentrates about the roads, you have to go and do the spatial planning, where you will have zones for burial grounds like cemeteries, and that is how I say that this plan does not replace the other plan, but it is simply fits into each other and they work together. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking a lot of time.
Thank you, thank you. I think the questions were technical. So I don't want to give everyone a minute. I can see the chair, the Honorable Chair is taking the mic, but please keep to 1.5 minutes because we have to close the session.
There are two things that I'm expected to react to. The concern of Felix Nyamboma. The question he asked is, why does it appear like there are things cropping up in town, shanties? We have talked with Nick, and we have agreed that the chairpersons who are here, you will go and have your boards agree that the institutional, urban institutional grant that has come in UIG is going to be used towards making it possible for us to operate. And the first thing to do is to domesticate the bylaws that already exist to make them applicable in creating order in towns. In Kenya today, Kisumu City has a city court. An attempt by Migori to come up with a town court had trouble. There is the need to negotiate with the Judicial Service Commission to have urban city courts to prosecute this. In Homa Bay, the laws are being applied. That's why if there are animals roaming around town, they are being picked and penalties are being levied. So your question, Felix, is that we are going there. In answering this, I want all of you to know that much as we have challenges now, I am so sure that we shall overcome. The concern that Lord Vic raised about why is it that municipalities are not being supported by the county governments. This question came up on Tuesday when we were having a negotiation with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. The question was asked, why is it that there's no enthusiasm? It's going to be calculated. And that's why today we were meant to have had a conversation with Professor Nyang Nyong, the chair of the Council of Governors in charge of lands, physical planning, housing, and urbanization. And I think Nick will confirm that we have scheduled a meeting. That brings me to the question that Eunice has answered. We have to cultivate political goodwill, because this was also contained in our communication to the Senate. In that proposal, we said it is possible that Urban Areas and Cities Act 2019 can be amended and create an urban development fund so that conditional grants that Eunice is talking about can be made available to support the operations of municipalities. So I think, Nick, I know it is slightly more than 1 minute, but I wanted to assure our friends, the chairpersons who are here, the managers who are here, it is not a lost cause, because devolution shall be complete when municipalities work. And it's going to call for resilience, commitment on our part, not to just identify problems, but to also move with solutions.
Thank you very much. I'll skip you, Dr. Konyango. There's another role I want you to do. We go to Charles. Any reaction in 1 minute?
Thanks, Nick. Mine is not a reaction. Mine is a parting shot.
Yes.
Basically, I want to implore the urban leaders, and us in particular, to consider delineating and classifying our urban areas as a basis of ensuring sustainable urban expansion planning concept. Thank you.
Thank you. Husna, parting shot.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I like this discussion, because that tells you there's a lot to be thought or needs to be included. I think for my parting shot is, before that, there is an approach which is now being advocated for, the urban or city food systems, which allows for production or generation of food system at some within urban areas. And I think that is something which needs to be looked into. And most importantly, putting things to scale. I think we have small aspects of things all around. Probably for the different countries, how can we be able to scale up this? I can't wait to see this country and, I mean, within the region, all planned out. And more so, it will be more discussion on development rather than planning. But thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Philip.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Some issues have been raised on overlap of functions, and that has been caused by poor transfer of resources, including human resources and finances. I think there is need for an agitation, either by the caucus of chairs through COG, so that, because when you look at Section 48 of the County Government Act on decentralized units, you see which decentralized unit has precedence within the context of the county government is a municipality. Therefore, it goes without saying that for all functions transferred to municipalities, all staff serving within the county government under the jurisdiction of that municipality should be now serving under the municipality. You will find that municipalities are trying to recruit, with no budget, to recruit public health officers, when they are public health officers working under the county government, but roaming in towns with no work to do. I think the power of municipalities lies in the PFM, Section 171 and 2. We are glad that through the Council of Governors, there is a consultancy that is ongoing on financing municipalities, because it's so clear that all revenues collected within the municipality should be managed by the accounting officer. Now, when municipalities are broke, Nick, where I come from, they say a broke man has no many words in town. So they have no power. But when we talk about these laws that we require, let us activate the laws that we already have. Nothing has prevented the caucus of chairs from going to court to demand enforcement of Section 171. I think, and that is the cure of municipalities, nothing else. If you have money, you resource your units, and because the policymakers sit here, I don't think the CEC here, or Nyango, Daktari, has a problem enforcing any legal law in this country. Only that we have not brought it to the attention of the county executive. Finally, my recommendation. I have seen, through my peer learning efforts, I have seen very good bylaws in some of these municipalities. And I know from where we sit, because I've been in my municipality from inception, there are also lessons that other municipalities can learn from us. I recommend that we need to make it very easy for other municipalities to benchmark and adopt laws that have gone through due process in other municipalities, so that we have a common standard operating procedure.
Thank you.
For example, there is no, if we have no law on control of animals, if we have no bylaw, but another municipality has, there is no other formula of controlling roaming animals. We look at that law, we domesticate it, and that can be done very well through assistance of the caucus of the chairs. They bring it to us, we look at it as technical teams, then we are able to process it through the boards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I can see the Honorable Chair clapping his hand. So we are coming to the end of this session. I preserved Dr. Konyango for some reason. Apart from the shoe you are wearing as a minister, you are the immediate former National Director of Urban Development. And from this conversation, this conversation will inform the communique that we will be sharing or reading tomorrow, or that will be read tomorrow by the Deputy President. So from the discussion, and as you give your parting shot, I would request you to suggest one key recommendation from this panel that will form part of our communique tomorrow as a conclusion of this panel discussion, and how we can commit the policymakers to action on matters urban expansion. Over to you.
Nick, you've given me a very difficult task, but let me handle it in a few minutes. Number one of the things that we really need to recommend strongly, which has come through the whole of this panel, is that planning without resources equals to no planning. While I was the National Director of Urban Development, I did develop a concept for National Urban Development Funding, which we really worked on with NIC. If we could have a National Urban Development Fund put in place, that will ensure the implementation of the plans that we prepare. Otherwise, the urban planning that we are talking about here, we will have very beautiful plans, but no implementation. Therefore, things will still work as they are, and we'll be planning after the fact. What is important that we need to note, and I'm glad the World Bank has moved into Uganda and is bringing the same concept about conditional grants. We are in the second phase of it in Kenya. I was privileged to have prepared the first phase of it and the second phase of it. But without a national urban development fund that is dedicated to the municipalities to provide matching grants, you will still not be able to come off your feet. So Nick, if I was to recommend something, we need a dedicated funding for the municipalities as a decentralized service level of the counties. That is one thing that we need to come up with. The second thing, we have dedicated planning to the urban areas, and now we are talking about the peri-urban areas. In this country, our planning framework provides for rural planning. Urban and peri-urban planning without rural planning will still not land us there. Our constitution, and I'm glad I've heard also the constitution of Uganda says the same, all land in the country belongs to the people, and land use therefore has got to be planned. If we do not plan our rural places, the issue of food security becomes a problem. So that we create a very deliberate relationship between urban and peri-urban areas and their rural areas as well. A symbiotic relationship is what we would advocate for in this sense. Those are 2 points, Nick, that I think we need to bring up front. The other thing that I want to say is the issue of urban development, peri-urban development. We need to understand that this is a phenomenal fact. The issue of peri-urbanization is a phenomenal fact. It is not a conceptual fact. And therefore, we cannot develop theories around it. We really just need to move on, predict, anticipate, predict, plan, control, and we move on. So that is why I'm in love with this concept, because it will land us there. Therefore, my recommendation as well, Nick, as a parting shot, which should go into the communique tomorrow, is also the issue of us planning, zoning the peri-urban areas as a planning region within our planning regime, so that there is deliberate prediction of this phenomenal fact, controlling it, planning it, and therefore able to integrate it as part of our economic and spatial development of the country. For now, it is a neglected area. Finally, I want to say to my colleagues that as we move towards creation of a balance, Kisumu, I have just proposed to Nick, and I'll share this with you. It's a good masterpiece. In discussion with His Excellency the Governor, and he gave me the go-ahead, I've just done a new gazette notice for the municipalities for the transfer of functions. And based on the experience and what you and I have always wanted to do when we were at the national government, I have proposed a gazette, a notice that is self-effectuating, right? And so there will be no issue of the municipality, struggling with the ward admin and all that, with issues of roles and functions, or with the departments, county departments on this and that. It is self-effectuating. Funds, resources, human and capital follow the functions automatically. So that is what we've done, and I believe, well, if we could adopt that also in our communique, that functions should follow, resources should follow the functions, and functions should be self-effectuating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What a parting shot. Let's appreciate Dr. Konyango. Again, another round of applause. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you for taking time. Our colleague from Uganda, we appreciate. Say hi to Museveni when you get there. Our brother from Somaliland, we appreciate. We hope you will take time to stay in Homa Bay, learn a little bit, post the conference. Chairman of the other chairs, thank you for creating time to be here. Dr. Konyango, thank you. Charles, we know you are part of the planning team. Thank you for coming. Husna, anytime. We appreciate. Manager Emali, thank you. And Patrick, thank you for the good presentation. To our participants, we also appreciate you. We apologize for the mix-up during the day. This hall would have been full, but I think the mix-up, but that is part of the political goodwill we are looking for. So if we did not allow that political goodwill, perhaps maybe this discussion would not have been there. Allow me also to appreciate our teams that has been working at the back end. Sam Odhiambo, Claire Okidi, and Philbert, yeah. Thank you very much for facilitating the session. And my colleague Kennedy, where is Kennedy? Kennedy has worked very hard behind the scenes to ensure that this event works. And
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You are no man, no.